Dan's here, Mina's here. We got a lot to get to, you guys. Let's kick it off with New York, okay? Where John Harbaugh was introduced today as the new Giants head coach. He spoke about his vision for the team, what he hopes to bring to the Big Apple, and how he plans to lead the Giants moving forward. Take a listen.
We begin a new chapter in New York. Our focus is simple. It starts with building a team that is physical and tough, that's capable of overwhelming their opponent from beginning to end, and especially at the end, that understands how to finish, that is smart and disciplined, that plays the game the way it should be played, and that everybody watching it, including those playing it, will be proud of. I'm excited about Jackson Dart, and it starts with the quarterback for sure. I mean, the quarterback has got to, you build your team around your quarterback. I mean, you build your team around your players and what they do well. And I like the way he plays. I mean, I like his talent, skill set, all the things he's accomplished. But more than that, I like who he is and what he's about. And to me, he's about football. I mean, this young guy loves football. He wants to talk football all the time. And, and that's kind of what I like doing too. So I think we're going to have a lot of great conversations. And I can't wait to get started with him.
I love that. Puts a smile on my face. John Harbaugh, the fourth former Super Bowl winning coach over the last 25 seasons to take over a team coming off a season of 4 or fewer wins. It happened last year when the Raiders hired Pete Carroll. It was one and done after going 3-14, though. Doug Peterson took the Jaguars to the playoffs in his first season in the prior instance. Mina, the big question for him in this organization, though, is who comes in as OC. He's talking about his relationship with Jackson Dart, but how important is that hire going to be for Dart's development when it comes to his future?
Obviously, this is a huge hire, a huge decision for John Harbaugh, especially given where Jackson Dart is in that development. Year 2 is so important for these young quarterbacks. When I first heard Todd Monken being thrown around as a possible offensive coordinator, and I know he's done some head coach interviews, I absolutely loved that idea. I think Monken did a fantastic job in Baltimore, not only, of course, dealing with another mobile quarterback in Lamar Jackson and designing the run game to highlight those skills, and the run game should and will be the focus in New York. But also, I think, Monken showed a lot of creativity, called a very modern offense, an offense that constantly iterated, was very different from what he did early in his career. I loved how he used motion in the run game in particular, some very creative and interesting personnel, obviously, in Baltimore. So I would really like that hire if New York did it. I do think, and I know, Dan, we've talked about this, Dart is very mobile. His mobility is different from Lamar's. Oh, yeah. They're going to have to call a different sort of QB run game, and also an emphasis has to be on getting Dart to protect himself because he's not Lamar Jackson in the open field. But on the whole, I would love that idea, and I hope it happens if I'm a Giants fan. Yeah, obviously the hire of coordinator is going to be a big deal, and then I think that's kind of the next step for this organization and/or football team is some of the question marks. One, with your own roster. Are you going to re-sign your right tackle, Illuminor? And there was some pretty good play out of him this year. And then second, who's going to be the pass catcher opposite Malik Neighbors? I'm not sitting here telling everybody it has to be this unbelievable wide receiver, but it's got to be a pass catcher, whether it's a tight end as well. Theo Johnson did some good things. Yeah. I think that the interior of their offensive line has to develop and grow and have some added pieces. So, and then add to the secondary from a full team perspective. And so I'm one of those people that I think when you bring up in a coach like this that understands how to win and really how not to give away games, you can get pretty competitive pretty quickly. I don't think that this is put them as the number 1 seed in the playoffs next year. But I do think if they figure out some of the pieces on their offensive line and get a competent wide receiver or really an upper echelon wide receiver opposite Malik, I think this is a team that can contend for the playoffs. It'll also help to get Cam Scadaboo back, which he's in line to potentially be back by training camp. Should be huge for that offense. All right, so this coaching carousel continues to spin, but some of these vacancies are being filled. Some news breaking late last night as the Tennessee Titans finalizing a deal to hire 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their next head coach. Saleh spent Monday with the organization where both sides impressed each other enough to move forward. So Saleh, with his defensive background, takes over a Titans team that was a bottom 3 offense in the NFL last season in several categories: scoring, passing, rushing, analytics. They ranked 30th in all of them.
And he will have 2025 number 1 overall pick Cam Ward and the 2026 4th overall pick to work with. I think that number 4 overall pick pretty huge too, to see where they go when it comes to supporting Cam Ward. But Dan, a lot of people expected the Titans to go offensive here. This vacancy was the first one that really came down, and we were thinking, oh, would it be Stefanski? He ends up going to the Falcons. Do you like this hire with Saleh coming in?
I like the hire, but I want to see who the offensive coordinator is. I think Robert Saleh is a good coach. I do think that he was dealt a difficult hand in New York, specifically on the offensive side. But it's all going to come down. It's not that different than the Giants situation. Who he hires as his head coach. Is it going to be Mike McDaniel if he doesn't get a head coaching job? Is it going to be Mike LaFleur that he can bring, that he had with him in New York? Is it going to be Matt Nagy, who was part of the Chiefs and maybe in some of the head coaching cycles and might be departing from Kansas City? I think the most important thing for me, MK, is you have a special talent in Cam Ward. I truly believe that. His ability to make some throws, I think he had as many wild throws as most high-end quarterbacks in the NFL this year. The biggest thing is you cannot hire somebody that coaches that magic out of him. It's a challenge because you do have to coach some of the sloppy out of it, some of that danger out of it, that carelessness out of him, no doubt. Yeah. But you don't want to coach the special out of him. That's why this hire is huge, because I think there's some rare talent in him that can vault Tennessee, at least offensively, up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if Mike McDaniel doesn't get a head coaching job this cycle, I'm throwing the biggest bag possible at him. As far as Saleh, though, just to back up for a second, I do think the further we get from his Jets tenure, the more we see what he did with what he was given. Right, from the point he was hired in 2021 until he was fired in Week 5 of the 2024 season, that defense was first in yards per play, third in success rate. And since then, well, we've seen the results even before they traded away some of their players. So I do like the idea of him coming in and fixing the defense, because this is a problem on both sides of the ball. His leadership abilities are often raved about by folks around the league. But if he doesn't nail the offensive coordinator hire, nothing will matter. And to me, that's the biggest hire, maybe league-wide right now.
Yeah, and also just what he did with San Francisco defensively this year when they got decimated by injuries. I wonder, MK, does the experience in New York that he had with Zach Wilson impact him in a positive when it comes to just the handling of that position and that offensive side of the ball? Does he want somebody who's got a little bit more experience developing a younger quarterback? It's not only the play caller. You got to have somebody that's in that building on a consistent basis that really knows what it's like to develop a young quarterback. What are the things we have to break? What are the things that we want to enhance? I think that's just as important as the play caller as well.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement there. I think just to echo what you're saying about the quarterback development too, like I think they've got to really find a way to get the run game going. Again, Mike McDaniel would be great in that regard. I thought the Titans offensive line, there was issues, but you also saw some young players take a step forward. So for me, the main priority this offseason is just adding pass catching talent.
Yeah, Mina, you answered exactly what I was going to ask you, so we're just always on the same page. The Titans do have $77 million in cap space. That's the third most in the NFL, so they do have the bandwidth to add at key positions too for Saleh. He's done a nice job with a lot less, so maybe with a little more, he can really have success. Dolphins hiring Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as their next head coach, and we're now joined by NFL insider Jeff Darlington. Jeff, can't wait to talk to you about this. Not the hire most were expecting maybe, but makes sense with their new GM, John Sullivan, and his Green Bay connection. What more can you tell us about the Dolphins' decision to go with Jeff Hafley?
Well, Laura, certainly something that did catch a lot of people maybe in this market by surprise, but I can tell you that speaking to the people who made the decision, they felt like this was a very rigorous process, despite the fact that it seems like they went with a guy that maybe they would have gone with all along, given his connection to John Sullivan, the new general manager. I can tell you, speaking with the people who made the decision, that they looked at him as he does have some head coaching experience from his time at Boston College. They believe that his ability to work in that kind of capacity will also work in the NFL. They believe he had the type of passion they were looking for, the emotional intelligence, the accountability, and of course the football schematics. I would also tell you that obviously he had that connection with John Eric Sullivan, the new general manager with the Packers, but that was really only for 2 years. So it's not as if they're best friends or anything, but the idea that John Eric was able to see him in that environment, it was essentially a 2-year interview in that capacity as well. So the Dolphins feel like they get stability, structure, and accountability, something they think that will ultimately show itself as this tenure goes on.
Yeah, I mean, whenever he has his introductory press conference, people are going to be impressed. This guy is impressive when you talk to him. Didn't surprise me at all that he got this job. I want to talk to you more about the Tua element of this, Jeff, so hold tight. We're going to continue on that in a moment. But the Dolphins enter the offseason needing to clear $27.5 million to hit the projected cap number. And, of course, Hafley will have a big decision to make about the future of Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback, like I was mentioning. The former DB's coach will also have several key free agents from Miami's secondary. The Dolphins will pick 11th in the 2026 draft, so interesting to see if they go draft there. But, Nina, is this the right move for Miami to bring in Hafley as their head coach?
You know, it's always hard to project. Looking at his performance in Green Bay, I thought year one, the defense took a really big leap. Year two, you kind of saw without Micah Parsons, things fell apart a bit. Don't know how much to, pin on him. But the body of work, I think, on the whole was good. And I also will say this. I do love the fact that him and the GM are coming in together, even if they're not best friends, as Jeff said, because around the league, I see so many situations where a team held on to a GM and you almost feel like the GM and the head coach might have different timelines and different priorities. I love that Miami got them both not only from the same place at the same time, so they will be working in lockstep. And that's especially important because this is going to be a multi-year process given the quarterback and cap situation. And so they do not want to be putting too much pressure on the roster to win this season. And hopefully the GM and the head coach being on the same timeline will help that.
Yeah, what's the plan for the salary cap and what's the plan for quarterback? Those are the two starting points. I believe that now, to Mina's point, you're coming in with a new head coach, new GM. This feels like a tear it down, complete rebuild, start from a new beginning at all positions, candidly. And what that means for Tua, if he's going to be there or if they're going to try to move on from him and deal with the salary cap, we'll figure that out, or they'll figure that out. But I do think we can point to how Green Bay has been built. Green Bay has been built with draft picks. Green Bay has been built with defensive line investments. The amount of picks and high first-round picks that have been invested into the Green Bay defensive line, and Hafley's experience not only in Green Bay, but don't forget he was in San Francisco when they had a ton of investments into defensive line. This feels like Miami will immediately start to build from the defensive line perspective and then figure it out from there. But I think we're going to talk coordinators, salary cap. Who manages that salary cap is going to be pivotal to how quickly they can start the rebuild.
It does also make you think, if they were more supported around the quarterback position, maybe things are better for Tua and he could almost get a fresh start in that way. Jeff rejoining us here. What do you know, Jeff, about the future of Tua Tagovailoa?
What I would tell you is that when we look at the fact that they fired Mike McDaniel, some might say, well, maybe that means they want to put somebody else with Tua. That is not the case. Organizationally, I would say that they actually held McDaniel to a higher regard at this point than Tua as their franchise quarterback. Obviously, there are the salary cap implications that could make Hafley take a second look at this, but I do think that organizationally, they are prepared to move on from Tua even as they bring in this new regime. They understand what that comes with. We saw it in Denver. It can work, but it does take lockstep, as you guys said, with the head coach and the general manager. And it also means when it comes to the draft, you cannot miss. That's how Denver has gotten to this point, and that's how the Dolphins are going to do it. And they feel like these are the two guys that can get them there.
Interesting. Yeah, they have the number 11 overall pick. And Jeff, that line from you, they're prepared to move on from Tua with this new regime if that ends up happening. Really interesting. Some I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about thanks to you.